Hello guys, Erica Hargadon here, certified child sleep consultant with my private practice Babogue. I'm the creator of the Sleep Series, which is an online sleep program based around my 7 steps to better sleep, and I'm a mum of 3. So there's very little I haven't maybe gone through myself on the sleep front with my own crew, and what we're going to talk about today I've gone through 3 times and only in the last 18 months, and that is the transition to the big bed. I think this is a stage that a lot of parents get put under pressure to do. Oh, your child is 2. When are you going to transition them into a bed? Oh, you're pregnant. Oh, you're going to have to give that cot to your new baby. I bet that kind of sounds familiar. In my opinion and in my experience, it is better to keep a toddler in their cot until they're closer to 3 or beyond. Usually, they will be better able to deal with the lack of boundaries that a bed brings when they're in that age. So basically, going with the transition before your child is developmentally ready is probably going to result in maybe problems around sleep, or maybe thinking that transitioning them from a cot to a bed is going to fix sleep problems. It's probably not. It's probably going to make them worse. When it comes to maybe sleep issues happening around your toddler, I would look at why they're occurring, like look at the bigger picture, and that's something that we do in the sleep series. So look at the overall picture and identify, what really the issue is, rather than thinking it's the cot. It's possibly going to be something else. I transitioned Patrick, my youngest, to a big bed when he was 3 years, 4 months, and it was seamless. In fact, the night that we were making the transition, he had an accident in the house and he ended up in an ambulance. And we came back that night, the bed was ready, like no cot gone, and he went straight into the bed, like no problems whatsoever. So I'm going to talk you through some of my strategies around transitioning a child into a big bed, and maybe some of the things that come up that maybe force you to transition to a big bed. So for example, if you have a child that is much younger than 3 and has started to climb out of the cot, a lot of parents would be like, oh my God, no, they're climbing and I have to get rid of the cot. Just don't knee-jerk it. Just take your time, take a step back. Let's look at why they're climbing out. Have they started to unzip their grow bag? Possibly. Put it on backwards, then they're not going to be able to reach the zip. There's the strategy. Have they no sleeping bag and you've no intention of using a sleeping bag, so they're throwing their leg over the side or outside of the cot? Drop the bottom of the cot to the floor, to the very floor. That will give you an extra little bit so they can't throw their leg over. So there are a few little strategies to keep your child in their cot for longer. If your child climbs out of the cot, don't just go straight to the big bed. Try and keep them in the cot for as long as possible, obviously while keeping them safe. If your child is catapulting themselves from the cot and they're simply not safe, then you may have to make the move to the big bed a little bit earlier than you would like. I had to do that with Quinn. He was cot jumping. He was jumping out of the cot. So we had to go with the transition into a big bed for him when he was probably about 2.5. And it was not much harder, but it was hard. I suppose it was a bit harder than it was with Patrick, because developmentally he was much younger, even though it was only 6 months. And the lack of the boundaries, the lack of ability to deal with that was, kind of harder for him. Obviously, if your child is climbing, don't reinforce climbing. Don't allow climbing. Talk to your child about not climbing. Don't climb. Climbing is not okay. When you're talking to them during the day, let's say they're climbing all over furniture and climbing up things during the day, talk to them about it. This is a phase. Obviously, make sure they're safe. Put plenty of pillows down around the cot, in case there is a bit of cot jumping going on. And always go with safety. If you as a parent think that your child is not safe, follow that intuition. Make sure that they are safe. That is the most important thing that you will do for your child. So Talk to them about the transition. Let's say your child is 3 years of age and you feel it's time for them to make the transition. Talk to them about it. Talk to them about being a big boy or girl. Talk about them sleeping in a bed like their mommy and daddy. Talk about it. Talk about it in a top line way, but don't make it into this big, massive thing. You know, start talking about it maybe only in the week or 10 days prior to it. You know, if you don't drag it out, they maybe don't have too much time to dwell on it, because we all know toddlers can dig their heels in and maybe not really want to do something when they set their mind to it. Also, there's no need to redecorate bedrooms. The amount of times I've heard in consultations, oh no, we can't do that because the room's not nice. The room doesn't need to be perfectly Instagrammable beautiful, lads. It just needs to be functional and safe. So like a nice toddler bed, or if you have a cot that is a cot bed, simply take the side off it. You know, if you are thinking about the transition and you're a couple of months out from it, make sure that your child maybe has transitioned from a sleeping bag to a duvet. Get them used to that. Like, there's no need to be buying really expensive things. Beautifully decorated rooms and expensive duvet covers with characters on them are not going to make your children want to sleep in their beds any more or any less. Go with what you have. IKEA was always the go-to in our house. The children have had the same toddler bed, all three of them. Patrick started out when we did the transition. We simply took the side off his cot bed and we put a bed rail on. And that was his transition. And that's what I would recommend to you guys. But if you don't have a cot bed, go with a low to the ground toddler bed, not a big single bed, because even though a single bed's not big to you and I, it's massive to a 3-year-old. It's huge. So go with starting small with things and don't like make it into a big deal. The day that you're thinking about making the transition the room over in the morning. So go from cot to like bed if your child's no longer napping during the day in the morning, so that your child has time to get acquainted with their new sleep space. Put their teddies in, have a little bit of a play around on it, spend a bit of time in their room, make sure that they see it and they know it and that it's theirs, that they can take ownership of it. And when it comes to going to bed that night, do your routine as normal. Exactly like I would describe in bedtime routine. There's a video on that. Do it as normal, like maybe 20 minutes before they're due to go to bed, bring them up. Teeth, hands, face, wheeze, you know, all of those bits and bobs. Do your stories. But when they get into bed, maybe linger around a small little bit, just a little bit. Have a little bit of chat about how lovely their bed is. Isn't it absolutely gorgeous? Aren't they so lucky to have a lovely bed to sleep in? But I would avoid conversations around not getting out of bed or you need to sleep in your bed all night, because these could plant seeds. Oh, is that an option to get out of bed? Is it an option for me to not sleep in my bed all night? So just continue as normal. Don't make it into a big deal, because making it into a big deal makes it a big deal. So say your night, tell them that you love them and that you will be there if they need you, and leave the room like you would normally do if that's what you would normally do around bedtime. But don't go too far, because I can guarantee that your little one will explore. Now, what I'd say to you is most of you probably have video monitors. That kind of would be the norm that I'm finding with parents at the moment. But if you don't, all well and good. Listen, if your child's getting out of bed and having a little mooch around the room and you know they're safe, leave them at it. Leave them at it. You can probably see them on your monitor, have a little look at them, give them a bit of time. They might just kind of go, oh, I'm a little mooch around, oh, here's a small bit of freedom. They might actually get back into bed. But if they're not, then it's time to go into the room and get down to their level and say to them once, it's night time now, lovey. It's time to get back into bed and go to sleep, and put them back into their bed. Kiss them and leave the room. After that, I recommend that you practice silent return. Now, silent return is where you deem you need to go into your child, or your child has left the room and you need to return them to their bed, but you do it silently, completely silently. You don't speak. You silently return them back to their bed. Now, I remember doing this with Quinn when we transitioned him from cot to bed. And I think on the first night, now he was 2.5, I probably returned him to his bed about 150 times because he was quite young doing it. And this is something that parents get, frustrated by and overwhelmed by. It's taken so long, it's taken so long, it's taken so long. It does take time. But on that 151st time, that could be the time that they stay in the bed and you've set the marker. You've set the marker. You can obviously provide reassurance. You can give them hugs and kisses. You can help them and support them in this transition to the big bed. But by getting into the bed with them or lying on the floor with them when they fall asleep, you've just set the marker that that's the new thing that you do around bedtime when you transition into a big bed. So try and avoid those things if you don't want those to be the norm around your sleep in your household. So meeting resistance and understanding that the resistance is because this is new. So they're maybe pushing a boundary a little bit, exploring this new space, but be prepared for it and know how to deal with it. So silent return is a brilliant method when it comes to that. If you find that your child goes to sleep no problem when they transition to the big bed, but then they start wandering in the middle of the night, silent return is definitely the technique to use for that as well, but it has to be practiced silently. You need to be silent and return them back to the bed and leave again if that's what you're choosing to do. Obviously, if there's questions around going to the toilet, should your child be potty trained, then you have to give them the opportunity to do the wee. But if you're finding that there's multiple requests for it and there's nothing happening, then you might need to make a decision around, I need to bring them back to bed, and this isn't really about the wees at all. So the key things: don't transition them too early. Try and leave your child in their cot until they're as close to 3 as possible. If you find that you have a child that's climbing or cot jumping, as I call it, don't knee-jerk. Try and employ some of the strategies around the grow bag being put on backwards or dropping the base of the cot right down to the floor. That might keep your child in their cot for that bit longer. But if you need to transition, it's something that has to happen, do it with a plan. Don't do it like quick smart. Do it with a plan. Have the right things in place. Toddler bed, or take the side off the cot bed, and make sure that you have talked to your child about it but not made it into a big thing, and then roll with it and be prepared that they're going to want to wander. They're going to want to explore this new freedom. This is a huge developmental milestone for them. I hope you found that useful. If you want to learn more about me, check out babogue.com. Thanks a mil.